on three. 1, 2, 3.
Win!
The alley-oop!
Hello, Saints fans. Welcome to the Coaches Show. This is your show. In-depth analysis of St. Martin's baseball. Alongside the head coach of the St. Martin Saints, Joey Swanson. And, Coach, this past week, a lot of challenges that you had to overcome. What did you like from your team's performance this past weekend?
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on again. These guys continue to stay locked in despite the circumstances. The competitiveness that we've had this weekend and last weekend has been really good. You know, hard to do with the season that we have, but I think they all understand that we're young and you know, all we can do is just try to go out there and compete day to day. You know, we were been dealt with a lot of injuries and some bad luck, but it is what it is, and they continue to try to go out and grind every weekend, and, you know, it is what it is at this point. But they're staying locked in, which is really good to see from this group. It's only going to bode well for them in the future.
It's that edge of competing all the way towards the end of the season. That's been the story for St. Martin's down the stretch this season. And a look at, for the central side, of how you guys are able to play. Still some positives that you could take away from a weekend that was.
Yeah, you know, Friday was a lot different than Saturday. We got up early in games on Friday, and then offense kind of fizzled out. We lost some leads towards the middle innings. Hartnett was out of lineup Friday due to some sickness and back in there Saturday, and I think that kind of helped our momentum a little bit leading into Saturday. We competed really, really well on Saturday, and just, you know, Blaze executes a good pitch in Game 4, and Ponce does what he does. You know, one of the leaders in Division II in all of baseball, and you know, it was, you know, it is what it is. We can only control what we can control, and just try to stay locked in with the pitch-by-pitch mentality.
And we've talked over the course of these past few weeks of pitching and looking for improvement there, and it would seem as if from your side that you've seen that too. Yeah,
absolutely. You know, we've tried to adjust some roles with guys and to make our middle innings stronger, and you know, Blaze and Nicky coming out of the pen have been good. Schumacher has been fine. You know, Luke had another start for us and was really impressed with him again. Like, gave up a 5 spot in one inning and then came back and gave up no runs the next inning. So, like, he's shown some maturity. You know, Cade Gibson got his first start on the mound, and a guy that was recruited as a two-way and had some innings at TCC and, you know, pitching in his hometown. So had great energy all weekend after he was really good offensively for us on Friday. We continue to just strive to show improvements, and I know Cole's working his butt off to try to bring the best out of guys, and we just need to continue to work hard and prepare as we go into this bye week.
Before we look into the bye week, we feature some of the finest of St. Martin's, and we got Evan Nicol up ahead. And what stands out about Evan, the player and the person?
What doesn't stand out? I mean, he's like 6'5", maybe 6'7". You know, he's just a ball of energy, and he's one of the best competitors that I've ever seen in the box. I was joking with him yesterday that it's kind of scary when he leads off an inning to hear some of the things that he's mumbling under his breath to himself to try to get him hyped up for it, and just prepares really well. Something that I look forward to with him only being a sophomore and this being his first, you know, full season as an everyday guy. Got sprinkled in a little bit last year, but has really stepped up to be a big contributor for us. And I think guys enjoy being around him, and he's always got a smile on his face except when he's getting ready to hit, which is a very good trait to have. Great person, comes from a good program, good culture, knows what it takes to help build one, and just has a great personality and goes about his business the right way.
He's got that killer instinct. Earlier this week, we spoke with Evan Nicol. Alongside Evan Nicol, and Evan, for you and your love for baseball, where did it all begin?
I would say just like growing up with my friends. A lot of the friends that I grew up with all played baseball, and we played together all throughout high school. And I think that's just kind of where the love of baseball began for me. And then obviously as I grew older, it became less about like the friends and more about the game itself.
Yeah.
I love the game of baseball, competing with the guys on the field. I think it's just a great atmosphere, and it's something I love to do every single day. So
Love to do it every time you take the field, and it shows when you play. It shows in all facets. And for you, you begin your time playing in the little leagues all the way up into high school. What was that time in high school like?
it was a whirlwind. Obviously, as a freshman, we didn't have that year because of COVID, and then that following year we didn't get to play in the playoffs. But as we moved into my junior year, we ended up winning the state championship. And then moving on to the senior year, we finished top 8, I believe. But yeah, that junior year was a special year for us. So
Before the Wild state championship game, what was that ride leading up to that point like?
it was special. I think one of the big things that we had harped on that year was our high school had been together for 115 years or something like that. It had been one of the storied high schools, and we had competed well the last couple years, but hadn't gotten to the peak of the league yet, and we hadn't completed the goal of winning that state championship. And so we talked about that every single day, and yeah, so getting to finally like live out that dream, something that we had been talking about for 3 years at that point, it was special.
And for you guys to do it against a league rival in Puyallup,
Yeah.
is that extra special? How did that feel to go up against a fellow league foe?
Yeah, I mean, there isn't really anything that you could expect to be better than that. Beating Puyallup is one of the best feelings, obviously. And so having them to being the opponent, we had faced them 3 times already at that point. Seeing them in the 4th time, we got the best of them, and it was a close game, but yeah.
The throw to the plate.
Yeah.
What's going on through your head?
Well, I mean, out there in right field, we have one of the best outfielders, pitchers that you can ever expect as a high schooler. So, I mean, a lot of trust in that, and Lane Fuller at the plate, who was huge for us in that year. And so, I mean, we've practiced that hundreds of times, and yeah, it was special. So,
And walk us through that moment. What did you see from your vantage point on that game-winning play at State?
I mean, it was coming right over my head, so I think I had the best view of anyone. But yeah, I think it was just trusting the guys, and it was a feeling of relief at that point. We had worked so hard and kind of built the program to be a perennial team that competed, and yeah, so I think it just like having that all that relief come to reality was really, really special. So I was really happy that we got to do it, especially against them, and yeah, trusting the teammates.
So then you win the state championship, and then you have to look towards playing college. And
yeah.
how did that process work out to bring you here to St. Martin's?
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting process. I had after that junior year, we had brought on a new hitting coach for Olympia, Dakota Hill, a former player here, and we had another assistant coach that had, also played here as well. And I had kind of talked to Dak, and he had reached out and he had said, St. Martin's is a great place. He talked about the community, had great things to say about it, and yeah, I reached out to Kelly at the time, and he gave me the opportunity to play here, and it was special. I was really grateful for that opportunity.
So you've heard about how the community is special.
Yeah.
What makes it special?
I mean, I grew up living in Olympia. I went to these St. Martin's camps, the baseball and basketball, and I think like being around the players, it was always a fun time, and I enjoyed every moment of it. And so finally getting to like be that player to help and hang out with those young kids this last summer, I got to do that. That was really cool. And I mean, this community is it's really tight knit and it's special. So I'm glad that we get to do this.
And looking at your season up to this point, looking ahead, what has this season taught you, and how are you going to use what you learn for the future?
Yeah, I think that this season, obviously through the bumps, you learn a lot of things about each other and about yourself, and I think that you have to enjoy what you do, and I really enjoy it. I think a lot of the guys on the team really do, and I think that this tough season will eventually lead to success in the future, and we will be better off because of this season. So, yeah, I'm excited for the future and excited to keep fighting with these guys.
And how special has it been to have the staff that's there to help you out?
Yeah, I think this staff is just a great example of what it's like to lead and show that, like, if we come together as a team, we will be better off because of it. And I think they show up every day wanting to make us better and wanting to really care about winning. And so obviously we brought in Ryan Oshiro and our new head coach, Joey Swanson. I mean, they've just done a great job this year, and I think I'm excited for the future. So
a lot of optimism for the future still to come. Let's head back to Coach Swanson. Wow, what a story. Evan Nicol is a state champion with Olympia, and what was an incredible story there. But you talk about the future for St. Martin's. Evan Nicol, you have to imagine, is going to be that key cornerstone for not only this season but in years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're really excited about our freshman and sophomore class, and he's a big piece of that sophomore group. I mean, the struggles that the pitching and hitting have had, we're playing a lot of underclassmen, so they're only going to be better for it. Evan's going to be a big piece and a big leader for us, so it's always good to get guys that are able to come from those good programs that know what it's going to take, and he's definitely proven that day in and day out.
The future is certainly built for St. Martin's for the future with Evan Nicol. But when you talk about the future looking ahead, bye week for your team this weekend, what are you looking out of your team in what is a week off from playing?
Yeah, it's always tough since they've added it with the bye weeks, trying to get guys locked in, stay locked in. Our bodies need rest for sure, due to some injuries with Arecki and Ingram. Like, we're outfielders are getting run ragged, and I know that they could use some rest. And, everybody kind of can use a mental reset. Like, we're still only one day off this week, and we'll do some things that won't involve baseball to try to keep the juices flowing. Weather permitting, we'll be able to get outside and scrimmage, inter squads this weekend, and, just try to keep them continuing to stay the course, but definitely give the bodies a break and still stay locked in. We were indoors yesterday, had some good live at-bats. We'll do the same thing again today. So the hitters and pitchers are still seeing live, and, really that's what this game is about, is being really good, 60 feet 6 inches. So we'll just continue to do that the best that we can.
Look to build, and then afterwards get to host Montana State Billings. A little bit of a sneak peek ahead, and it's certainly, I would imagine, it'd be nice to be finally back at home.
Yeah, we've been on our field 6 times this spring. I don't think it affects the guys too much. I know they enjoy their mafia games on the bus and whatever else they do that we don't see. They enjoy spending time together on the bus and on the road and in the hotel, and I don't think it affects them too much. Like, Kelly and I always talked about, it's kind of nice to just play on the road, show up and play, but there is a great feeling about being at home, and we're just crossing our fingers that the weather is a little more helpful than it was our series against NNU. But Billings is always tough. They're pitching well, and they're going to come off a tough weekend with them and NNU and fighting for first and second, and we'll give them our best effort when they get here.
Bring them their best, and that will be next week. And the broadcast can be found right here on the Saints Digital Network. But that's all the time that we have for this week's edition of the Coaches Show featuring Joey Swanson. For Coach Swanson and Evan Nicol, I'm DeBock saying so long and take care. And as always, it's a great day to be a Saint.